little did Caroline know I was just going to stop directing like 20% into the shoot.
Where he lands, and then whenever he takes back off, they're kind of bend down and then fire. And so it's little things like that you would take from. It depends on how realistic you want it to be.
Sure.
I don't know why I stuttered just then. Like when you told me I had the gift, I was like, it's gone. I lost it.
Maybe.
Founded in 1999 by Jason Burks, Retrospec Films is Oklahoma's largest turnkey production company of its kind. With a full-time team of over 20 talented individuals, a 12,000 square foot studio to create in, and a resume that spans some of the world's largest brands, if you love learning about filmmaking and storytelling, you've come to the right place. On each episode, we discuss the pursuit of creating things and the problems we solve by digging up projects from the last 20 years, giving you a glimpse behind the scenes where the magic happens. You're listening to Retrospec Films from the archives.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on Retrospec from the Archives. This is our in-house podcast where we talk about the creative things that we create through film production and all the problems that we solve along the way. Joining me today is Devon Oliver, designer, and I guess mostly designer, and motion designer, graphic designer, and then also just a voice of wisdom.
Definitely.
Everybody sees you as wise.
Oh.
So,
did you know that?
I didn't.
we're going to take this moment to make sure you know that.
Thanks.
Right. And we have Caroline Rice. You know, it's funny. I wanted to say Devon the Oliver, and now I want to say Caroline the Rice.
That'll work. I like
All right,
it.
I got it out of my system now.
Yeah.
But Devon the Oliver sounds like someone like prestigious, and Caroline the Rice.
Doesn't sound good.
I don't know. Maybe it does.
I don't know.
Devon
Maybe
the
it
Oliver
does.
sounds like a Guy Ritchie character.
It kind of does. Now I want to write something.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to put
We're
that
onto
together.
something here.
Well, we are going to talk about a unique project called Explore to Eat.
No. Run
Just
it back.
joking. Eat2Explore. And Eat2Explore is, I could venture down the road of describing it, but I might hand it off to you.
Yeah.
But let me try.
Okay.
Eat2Explore is an organization that I believe is based up in the Northeast. And the objective is having products, food, that families can cook and create together. And through that experience, they get to learn all these cool cultural things, geographic things, historic things about different parts of the world, what they eat, why they eat it, how long they've eaten it, and then you get to create it and eat it. So it's kind of like a family gathering tool.
Absolutely. You nailed it. Yeah.
Did I miss anything? Would you like to fill in a gap?
I mean, really, that's it. I guess the only thing I'd say is it's not only just this fun activity, but there's also kind of a curriculum built around it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can learn. Like there's like science, music, you said geography. So there's these different things that you can teach your children about other places in the world and just make them more culturally aware.
Yeah.
So.
This project was unique. Amanda Murphy, who is somebody that I've actually known for a very long time. Let's see, she worked at the Gathering Place, and she's worked at a few different places through time in marketing positions, and we've had the opportunity to work with her and create stuff. And she's just a great person, and now she's come on board with Eat2Explore, reached back out, gave us the opportunity to make a little promotional video that essentially would help tell a little bit of the story of why this organization exists, what it is, why you'd want to participate in it. So we were tasked with creating something that would show some cooking, tell some story, and really be a nice little explanation of what they do. Yeah. So the producing this is kind of interesting. In the last 5-6 years, we got to work with One Gas on building a kitchen/studio downtown Tulsa in their building that would be used for cooking shows and different things that we've worked on with them, but just also for them to use for training, et cetera. So when this project came up, we were kind of like, what's a nice space that we can shoot cooking? And I was like, oh, well, that would be great. Let's consider that. So we decided to do it there. Now, simultaneously, this project was kind of unique on the behind-the-scenes side because little did Caroline know I was just going to stop directing like 20% into the shoot.
Pretty much.
But we had been talking a lot about Caroline having more opportunities to direct on set, and she's a super creative individual, had already worked a lot in pre-pro and some of the creative development aspects of projects, which is such a nice flow right into making sure that you execute the things, and you do have the gift of talking to humans.
Yes.
You enjoy it.
I
You
don't know
enjoy
why
it.
I stuttered just then. Like when you told me I had the gift, I was like, it's gone. I lost it.
Maybe. So no, but this project was pretty cool. You know, we had laid out a bunch of people, families, the founder, a whole place. The founder flew in from, I feel like it was upstate New York.
New York, yep. She
Yeah.
lives in Manhattan.
Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, and she's not just passionate about this, but she's also like an investor, right?
She used to work in the stock market, yeah.
Yeah, so she's a really, really sharp lady. So she flew in, and we brought in different family members of, well, not her family members, but just random families that could come in and do some of the cooking themselves. And so we got into the production, shooting in a kitchen that we know very well, which is great. Know how to light it. You know, we all just said, hey, put the lights here, backlight here, key it, make it look nice, set up the cameras, get them all going. And then we just started shooting. And somewhere in there, I think maybe like after the first one, I just kind of slowly crept away into the corner and got on my laptop, but on purpose. And, you know, I think you did an incredible job. Not that it's about what this is all about, but I'd love to kind of get your perspective because you just took over and started directing. And how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a blast. This was so my niche because it involved families and kids and learning, and those are all things I really love. I used to be a teacher, so those are like in my wheelhouse. But it was funny because I think the day before we were on set together, and you were like, "How dialed in are you on this creative?" And I was like, "I'm pretty dialed. Like, you know, I've been working with them." And he was like, "Well," and you said, "Do you want to co-direct?" And so I kind of thought that would be us like switching back and forth, maybe me shadowing you. But you said you did one interview, and then I couldn't find you. I was like, "Where's Jason?"
I did see you looking for me.
Yeah, I was like, "Where did she?"
And I was in the shadows, and you know how set is, you know, there's all the bright lights around you. And I remember several times I know the look, like when someone looks over their shoulder, like they're looking for me. But I was
Casually.
like,
Yeah.
but I was like, no. I was like, I know her
Let her
instincts.
fly.
And within the next 5 seconds, she's just going to go, he ain't here. I'm going to do what needs to be done.
And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, I wasn't like stressed or anything. I just didn't want to be like stepping on your toes.
Sure,
But,
no.
So yeah, we kind of got into it. And what was fun was each family kind of had different aspects of kind of the lens of why they were there. Like one family had a lot of different ages of kids, like from teenagers to like a 3-year-old. And so that was a pretty like rambunctious interview. We tried to interview all of them at once and then get their cover, which was really sweet. Another family was a homeschool family. So we were kind of, the objective there was like, okay, well, why is Eat2Explore a great asset for homeschool moms? Like, how can that, you know, be paired with curriculum to help your kids understand different cultures of the world? So that was a fun one. And then, just some other different family dynamics. So each interview kind of had a different flavor to it. And then the B-roll, really, we just tried to depict what they were talking about. So I don't know, I was just encouraging them to be close and, collaborate on the cooking, make sure everybody was involved. And then there were just a handful of shots that Rowena and Amanda had specified that they wanted of like their boxes. We did like a little, what's it called? Not a time lapse, but like stop motion photos with their packaging, and we did like some cool pans of just the different boxes and products and stuff. But my favorite part to direct was the activity with the family because it was just sweet to watch them, you know, making meatballs and cooking, you know, chicken kebabs and making sauce, and kids as young as 3 being involved in that and them genuinely enjoying themselves. Like it wasn't too much to have to direct that aspect, but just to, you know, say, okay, now give a high five, now give a hug, you know, things like that. But it was a really fun day.
Yeah, that's great. Before I talk too long, let's roll that video real quick. It's about 2 minutes long. I think you'll enjoy it. Here we go.
Ooh, this is fun.
It brings joy for us to say, someday Lola's going to talk to her kids or her grandchildren about, I used to do this with my dad or my mom, and she's our only daughter. So I want her to have that experience to look back to and hold on to when we're not here.
Eat2Explore is a food and cultural experiential cooking kit. We're trying to inspire cultural learning.
This is for the kusambashi.
You get to learn to cook and learn about the culture and learn the geography and music and art.
Ooh, coconut.
We got 2, France and South Korea.
It tells you about the culture. You're getting your math, your science, It's just kind of in one box for you.
Sometimes you don't know where to start or where to get the ingredients.
And having it in a ready-to-go box to just, in a busy night, to say, hey, let's explore.
We have 24 countries. Every country is a box, and the box comes with 3 recipes, a shopping list to buy the fresh ingredients, and all the essential spices and condiments.
Kyoko is only 3, so anything that she can help with is a huge deal. Having the opportunity to pour an ingredient into the bowl that's pre-measured is huge.
Stir it up.
And then we have a QR code that gives you an online access. So it's really an experience.
Especially for Lola, we want her to know that there's a lot more out there, especially with traditions, with food, with people.
But if cooking's your thing and you like spending time with your family, then this is a great opportunity.
As a mother, I really appreciate what my kids have learned through Eat2Explore.
We got to read and learn a little bit more about the world beyond our own house.
Kids learn to work together.
About fractions.
Oh,
Like measuring.
There's so much little intrinsic skills that you learn that you're not even aware of until your kids are much older, and then you realize that, wow, that was actually great.
It makes me feel happy and close to my mom.
You will learn from that experience and it will just keep going.
Like every day we wish we could have like a moment like this.
Not only we're creating memories of doing an activity together that we all enjoy, they're actually learning life skills that will carry on the rest of their life.
Well, before I switch over to post-production of this piece, Caroline, I wanted to get your opinion. This was something specifically that stood out to me on that shoot with you directing, and probably something I recognized quickly in you and why I've been like, hey, you should do this more. What do you think?
Yeah.
But just like the value of being, I don't know if the word is demonstrative, maybe it is, or
Whoa.
articulate,
Okay.
or being vocal. You have to be commanding a little bit. And
Yes.
it's kind of a thing where it's funny. I've worked with, as a DP, I've worked with a lot of different directors, and I really don't, mostly these days I direct and DP. I know there's lots of preferences out there, but for me, I've always been like, if you're a director, you need to direct. And if you're going to direct, people need to hear you and you need to tell them what to do because you're directing. I've always really had major irritations with people that get on set and they just confuse everybody, which I'm not on those sets often, but I've seen it with directors. They're unclear. They're like, I don't know. What do you think? What
They're
They're
not confident.
Yeah, they're not confident. And the talent's confused and the client's confused and everybody's all over. You know, and it's funny because I feel like it starts with being able to talk in a way that people physically hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of those shoots where it was kind of nice because as I sat back, I was like, I love that she knows the volume to speak at to make people listen. And honestly, I bet you it comes back from being a teacher, which
It
is
probably
so
does.
funny. But talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, being a teacher and then also like doing some choreography and being in spaces and musical theater of like directing theater, I think, yeah, there is a vocal pitch and volume that you kind of have to use. But
Yeah.
I think for me, I quickly make friends with the people that are on set. I want them to feel comfortable and connected to me. Like they can say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this, or, you know, I don't know, they can be involved.
Yeah.
But also that I'm their advocate. So if they're doing something that looks weird or they're turned in a way that doesn't show their eyes and their expressions the best that it could, or I feel like they're unengaged, like it's my responsibility to tell them and explain to them in a kind way how to adjust that, right? And so I think with children and with families, that comes really naturally, especially these people. Like, first of all, they were all just really great people, but
Right.
they were open to feedback and they wanted that direction, which I think everybody on set probably does, but even more so when you're not an actor and you're just somebody coming to help, explain what a product is. They wanted that feedback. And so just providing it at a volume that's loud enough where you're not barking, but you are confidently directing.
Right.
And you're giving clear, specific direction that people can follow and that they feel makes sense is kind of the key. I think.
It's the worst to be on camera and not have clear direction, not feel like the director is paying attention or just kind of leaving you out to dry. Like you're just kind of like there, like, okay, say your lines, do your stuff, and you
Right.
just immediately feel insecure. But when you have somebody kind of guiding and leading you, like you can perform, you can give like the best delivery. I've seen, people go from completely like, ooh, what do I do? What do I
Right.
do? They get some really good direction and their confidence goes whoop.
Yes.
And then you get the best out of them, even whether they've been on camera before or not.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to say, because that even happened, especially with the children. Because at first they're kind of like, oh, this is scary. There's a lot of lights, there's a lot of cameras, and they don't really know what to do. But when you give them those kind of clear step-by-steps, here's some actions. I want you interacting with sister. I want you, give her a high five. Can you stick your fingers in the bowl and taste it? Give them some fun ideas. They're like, well, this is fun. And then they're in it. And then they're themselves. There was this one clip of this little boy, and he had the little meatball on his stick, and he was kind of going like this, and it was like honestly my favorite part of the video, but he came up with that on his own. I didn't say move your head in a snake motion or anything like that. He did that because he felt comfortable because of the structure that was set up. So yeah.
That's great. Well, let's take it over to post-production, Devon. Devon, talk to us about the parts that you played. I know that I don't think you edited this. Somebody edited it, but eventually it came to you. And
I think Kyle edited it.
Kyle.
Yes, Kyle edited it.
Okay, cool.
Edited it.
Yep, edited it.
It's hard.
Edited it.
So I was responsible for the graphics in it. So the end screen, the logo animation, the lower thirds, and so basically they already had a really great logo. It was super cute, and that actually told me everything I needed to know about how I was going to animate it. It could be very fun and bouncy and cartoony because that's the brand.
Mhm.
It's also like, it is like, obviously it's the adults that are going to purchase it, but it's like geared for children. So I was able to just have a lot of fun. Like a lot of the brands you animate, you have to be a little bit more structured and a little bit more simplistic with the animations, but I got to have fun and do bounces and like make I can't even. There's a bird was the icon, so I got to have a lot of fun, like making a little bird animation pop in and out, and he has a little chef hat, and I got to do on the lower third, use a little chef hat as like a part of the lower third, so it was fun, bouncy, and
They're adorable. It added so much to the overall value of the video.
Without getting into like too technical descriptions, but I think a lot of times people see stuff like that, and it's funny because you could do like a 2-second animation that, depending on the complexity, could take like days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and all these different elements. Talk a little bit about some of those elements and layers, and like you don't have to know how long it took you, but just how do you even go about like creating movement with those type of little animals?
Well, the very first thing is you look at what the animal is, and you look at like what parts of this animal, how would it move in real life? Like this bird has wings, so his little wings would flap. Because it was just a 2D image, you have to kind of play with what you already have. So for me, the number one thing was wings flapping and his movement when a bird flies. You could see them kind of, especially like a baby bird, kind of hops and flies and hops and flies. And so that was how I wanted him to move, was kind of bouncing. And then just like everything else, like when you're doing something more cartoony, when let's say you have a letter drop into frame, you have it drop and bounce. That makes it more fun and alive. If it's supposed to be more serious, it's going to drop and ease into position. So I basically did a lot of the little fun, bouncy movements and stuff like that to make it feel more vibrant and exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I'm curious, which I'm sure it happens, but do you ever find yourself like going on YouTube and watching how things actually move to understand the movement?
That's where you start.
Yeah.
Like you look at something and you think, okay, in this scene, like how would this move? So if like I've done a pigeon before, and a pigeon would move probably different than this little bird, because I imagine this bird was more like a little chick. And so with the pigeon, I even like had it where he lands, and then whenever he takes back off, they're kind of bend down and then fire. And so it's little things like that you would take from. it depends on how realistic you want it to be.
Sure.
So,
sure.
but yeah, definitely you'd look and see how, like, when wings flap, is it like when people walk, do they move separately, or when they flap, they move at the same time, like things like that. So
It is funny how many things the subconscious knows. And it knows when it's wrong and it knows when it's right, but it couldn't articulate what was wrong or what was right.
Yep.
And I feel like there's a lot in that space you're describing where it's like, you know, if you had a little bunny, for example, and the bunny was like jumping like a bunny jumps, people would watch it, it would feel right, they would smile. But if all of a sudden the bunny was like walking like a human and it's like left leg and
like
right
if
leg,
it was crawling.
yeah, like
yeah.
And what's funny is a lot of people might not be able to tell you, they wouldn't say, why is it walking wrong? They would say, that's weird.
Yep.
Or they might not say anything. They might just go, huh,
Yeah.
you know? And it's funny because that even gets back to one of those things that I always say this, especially to client management, but to anyone sending proofs, is it's so important that we get a project as complete as we can, because many times something that is incorrect but's kind of subconscious, the client will try to solve that, and in the trying to solve that thing that's broke, they actually break something else.
Yeah.
You know, like that might be like, you know what, this music is not good, and actually the music was fine. What wasn't good is that every single shot in the edit stayed on screen too long. We just needed to speed up the edit, and then the music would feel so right.
Yep.
Obviously, that is such a nuance in what we do, but I can see how in what you do, it's also like probably something you just have to be self-accountable of when you probably watch it and then you're like, yeah, that's doing what I want and it feels right. But I bet you've probably animated things where you're like, what's happening here? And then you have to go change it, right?
That's like the whole thing with being an animator is based on what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve something that looks natural and realistic, or if you're trying to achieve something that looks more exaggerated.
Cute.
So you look at it and you're watching it and you're just like, something isn't working.
Right.
So you it's like trial and error. You adjust this,
Right.
and you have to know enough about how to make those adjustments, but it's still like, I'm going to make this adjustment. Okay, play it back. Does that look right? Still not right. But like one thing you have to develop is like this, like not creative, but a good eye for when something doesn't feel right. Like you can look at something and be like, and if I see it, I can figure it out. But if somebody else sees it, all they translate it as, I don't like that. Something doesn't feel right.
Yep.
Even though it could be a minor little adjustment
There
on
is
my
a
end.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, I mean, we could do a whole episode on that.
That's
but I
really
feel like,
interesting.
I feel like it is funny because even yesterday we were sitting on one of the edits and we were like, this overhead shot doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And then I was like, wait a second, flip it upside down, because since it's dead overhead, there's no line crossing. I think if it's dead overhead, and then I need his face in a different spot. Let's go back to the takes. And then it was like, when you cut out of it, let's cut back to the shot that was before it, so it's not so jarring to go from the front view, overhead, then behind. Let's go front view, overhead, back to front view, then behind. So that way the brain doesn't feel confused. But confusion is confusing, right? Like it's like where you're like, I don't feel like that's right, but I can't tell you why. And gosh, like 90% of the stuff we do, that's the world we always live in. So we're trying to take those executive decision skills and say, this is what is the least confusing and the most creative. So no, that's pretty cool to hear you talk about your approach on the animation. I mean, I guess there's a whole other project we could talk about like that, but we won't. That you've spent plenty of time on with little people and
We don't need to talk about any of that.
I won't bring it up.
We don't need to talk about that.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been fun to talk about. If you've never heard of Eat2Explore, I hope you go Google them, find out what they've got. If you've got a family, this is a great little thing. You can do monthly subscriptions and cook really fun meals with your family and eat stuff that's tasty and shows up at your doorstep, right?
It is good. I tried it myself, and it's delish.
I want to try it.
Yeah.
We might have to just get one of those coming up around here every month so we can all fight over who gets to eat it each month. Well, thanks so much for watching and joining us on this episode. If you liked what you saw, I think the best place to watch our episodes are on our website, retrospecfilms.com. We've got over 40 episodes, 40 different projects. We're probably nearing 50 at this point. Is that true? You probably know. You put them on
Close.
there.
Yeah, I don't think we're at 50 yet, or 50 is not on the website yet.
Yeah. We're getting very close, though. So we also have them on all the places you can listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. So thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.
Goodbye.